Hello everyone. This is a short video aiming to clarify some doubts related to the methodology section on the emissions calculator app. As part of every week development, our teams are expected to provide relevant sources related to emission calculations method on transportation modes at the individual level. That is, grams of CO2 per kilometer of an individual traveling in any source of transport mode. That also means that we are only focusing on transportation modes and not on manufacturing, neither or in industrial transportation such as heavy duty trucks, commercial merchant ships, or transport commercial cargo airplanes. In here, I'm going to explain with some few examples what could be a good way to update our tasks every week. In here, I'm actually on my own repository. I'm gonna copy this as part of the comments below this YouTube video, so you can follow up the things that I've been doing here. First of all, remember that our aim is just on transportation sources, and we're expecting to upload that information inside the README file as explained on tutorial 1. Basically, the main idea is that as soon as we get at at task 5, we can choose among all the options that we have gathered on the previous weeks which one is the strongest or the most suitable for the case of our emissions calculator app. Hence, the importance of having continuous updates on this section. For instance, on the example that I have so far on the emissions calculator app in my own repository at the README file, you can check out that I have included a short text explaining what is the information that I found, the link to the website as explained previously. If you do not remember how to introduce links, I encourage you to go back on task 1 tutorial where I explain how to write down on the README file. What's the syntax to write down on the README file, including hyperlinks. In here I have an example, a very brief example of vehicles under European Commission standards. I do realize that that could be an important source of information and have included such information in here. Perhaps if we find an additional source of information, we can add it without delay, or at least explaining briefly what does that information or what part of that information is important. What do we have to avoid? Copying and pasting just big reports of 300 or 400 pages without pointing out the specific section that is important. And why is that? Because we expect that most of the team members, or all of the team members, could go through the literature and check out on their own understanding which methodology is the best. And if we just keep copying long reports, that's gonna be certainly on my side and I don't know, probably on your side, gonna be impossible to follow up. For instance, the source that I've used to build out the default information on the emissions calculator app that you're working right now comes from the UK government greenhouse gas reporting conversion factors. So you can use these words as keywords. Perhaps you could find it somewhere else within Norway. On my side, as I am not that fluent in Norwegian, perhaps I'm limiting myself on English speaking, or at least English reports. For instance, if you go on this website, you get something like an Excel document where they have different sources, or they classify transport per sources. What you're aiming to have is trying to find out either the grams or the kilograms of CO2 per kilometer per person. Is this over here? For instance, in their segmentation, they have things like mini cars, and they include information related to the CO2, the CH4 that stands for methane, also from petrol cars and electric battery electric vehicle that is obvious that the emissions are going to be zero. This is relevant information that you could add. I repeat, this is the information that I've used so far as a default on your emissions calculator app. Other important sources, you could go either through Web of Science, Google Scholars, uh, popular academic browsers, and type it and check information such as greenhouse gas reporting transport or conversion factors, so on and so forth. In this case, I found an example all the way down here. What I do best is like I try to read out the abstracts on papers and check out if the information inside is going to be relevant. Another thing that I like to do is like looking for keywords. I just put kilometers here and check out that there might be some areas that may help me out. Okay, here's the method already, but road transport emissions, but for heavy duty vehicles, nothing related to passengers. So it could have been a great source if it was on people's information. So, as a summary, I expect you guys to keep updating a subsection every week on methodology, just methodology, where you're going to gather relevant information related to conversion factors or methodology itself for calculating emissions from transport related to uh, passenger movement. Okay, let's think of passenger as a subsection of vehicles because the other subsection could be industrial transport. We're just going to focus this time on passengers. Try to make a short summary of what's inside or what is relevant within that paper, report, website, etc., etc., and include it as part of your subsection. You could call it emissions methodology subsection. If there's any question related to this or further doubts, if I build more doubts in this time, I encourage you to send me a message and I will do my best to address it as soon as possible.